Hello and welcome, and I'm Jessica Lewis, and I'm an accredited Tai Chi instructor, and I'm really grateful to be here today to tell you a little bit more about this simple yet profound practice known as Tai Chi. Before I get into explaining the individual movements, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Dantian, which is our energetic heart. It's located roughly about 2 inches below the belly button and about 2 inches in. And sometimes when people are learning Tai Chi, it's a little bit easier to locate the Dantian from a seated position than when you're standing. So I'd like to explain that a little bit, and then we'll get into the first movement. If you were doing the first movement, rocking motion in a seated position, you would basically sit sort of a little bit forward on your chair so you can really feel your sit bones on the chair. Your feet on the ground. Feel your feet touching the floor. And then you would just let your hands drop. Go and open your thumbs so you can really move through the air as if you're moving through heavy air or even. And as you allow your Dantian to flow forward, your hands will simply come down through the body. So this is what it looks like. I'm just going to do 1 or 2. And so what you're effectively doing is allowing, not making it move, but allowing your pelvis to simply shift a little forward and then shift a little back. And then shift a little forward and then shift a little back. So what you're doing is, if this were your Dantian, the energetic heart, it kind of sits in your pelvis like a boil. It would be opening up and then contracting. One of the things I love about Tai Chi is that it accords with some of the governing principles of the universe, like expansion and contraction. So that's what's going on with your lower half when you're doing any of the movements of Tai Chi. And you're either moving forward or back, side to side, or even sometimes up or down. The Dantian is what's moving forward, back, up, down, side to side, and the rest of you is going along for the ride. So now I'm going to begin by doing rocking motion from a standing position. First, I always begin by feeling my feet touching the floor. And I kind of check in with my feet to see where my weight is. When my knees are locked, my weight generally feels like it's in the heels. I don't know about you, but that's what it is. So, in order to really feel the entirety of both my feet touching the floor, I just allow my knees to soften. And now I really feel my weight almost sinking down into the floor, almost like the floor is almost squishing. I'm sinking into. And then I just check in with the whole rest of my body, and I notice any areas of tension, or any ways in which I'm holding myself back, and I just invite them to let go. You know, the governing principle of the universe is it's a dance between holding on and letting go. Tai Chi is all about. So to begin rocking motion, you take a step to the left. And then simply let your weight sink to the heels of your feet. And then as your weight gradually comes to the fronts of your feet, your arms just kind of walk through. Open up your thumbs so you can really feel your hands moving through heavy air, or as if you're moving slow motion in a dream. And just pay attention to my weight as it shifts from the heels all the way to the balls of my feet. Back through the arches into the heels, and forward into the balls of my feet. smile. Joy through movement. And then at the end of every movement, ground yourself. Bring your attention into your feet. And then the second Tai Chi movement is called bird claps its wings. It's actually the second almost warm-up or preliminary movement in Tai Chi. And before I begin with that, I'd like us to get a sensation of what polarity feels like. So go ahead and rub your palms together. And then see if you can feel sort of the margins of the energy field that's between your hands. For me, it's most obvious when my hands are about this far apart. And that's called polarity. Everybody's experience is different. Some people experience this as a tingling, some people experience it as warmth. For me, it's almost like bringing two similar magnets together. They're both sort of pushing away and attracting at the same time. It's a really difficult to describe experience. But I really enjoy it. And a lot of people decided this is the first sign that something is really happening with Tai Chi. So go ahead and open up your thumbs so you can get as much real estate between your palms there. And with that feeling in mind, go ahead and bring your palms close together. Let gravity hang your fingertips and your wrist down where it wants to go. And then I'm just going to allow my weight to sink into the balls of my feet. My thigh bones and my tailbone just sort of float forward as my small wings reflect. And then 1.5 wrist circles. And repeat that whole process twice again. And come back more slowly when you go out. You really make this count. Feel that polarity building. Last time. And ground yourself, soles of feet. And then let go. Take a breath. The next Tai Chi Chuan movement is called around the bladder, and it's the first forward and back movement. Before we do that, though, I'd like to go over the way we move as easily as possible, forward and back. So when in any forward and back motion, you start by shifting your weight to the right leg. There's almost like a sink and a shift at the same time. All of the muscles in my right leg are holding me up equally, so there's actually no work involved here. And as soon as all of my weight and my energy is in that right leg, I simply straighten my left leg. Like I'm about to step out on a sheet of ice and I don't know if I'm going to break through. And then all of this weight and energy that's in this right leg is going to pour into my front leg as easily and as softly and smoothly as possible. So here it is. And then simply pull the weight back into the rear. So I'm just shifting forward until my rear leg gets straight. And I'm shifting back until my front leg gets straight. Shift all the way to the front until my rear heel gets empty. And it just peels itself off the floor. I can only slide about a credit card over there. And shifting back until my front toes get empty. empty, and they simply lift themselves off the floor. Maybe one more time. And to return the front foot, you just simply bring it back. So easy because it's a completely empty front leg. So, around the platter begins with that same shift to the right. Simply extend the left leg, hands up to about heart height, and open the wrist a little bit. And as you flow forward into that left leg, the hands come around the right. It's as if your hands are moving around an old-fashioned vinyl record. And there's a little needle right on the inside of each of your wrists, going around that groove. You feel something in the palms of your hands. Don't let anybody talk you out of your experience. It's your own. And the front foot and the hands simply settle back down to your feet. Let your thoughts reside in the sides of your feet. On the other side, sink your way into your left leg. Extend your leg. Hands back up to the same position. Make sure your wrists are a little bit open. And just forward and back. Just in some the originator of Tai Chi, I always used to say it's much more important how you move than what you move. So allow ourselves just very softly. And you will absolutely improve your health. 3, that's great. Let that energy sink down to the soles of your feet. Around the platter variation is a really simple variation of around the platter. So we're going to begin exactly the same way. Sink and shift into your right leg. Sink the left. Hands up to about heart height. Make sure your wrists are open. And just as your hands pass in front of your left shoulder, simply lift the fingers so that your wrists are still on that old-fashioned vinyl. And then guide that energetic ball off the line of the platter. I like to think of this movement as a metaphor for things that no longer work for you. Just whatever it is that's not working anymore. There it is, and then just let it go. There it is again, and that's it. Still. So. On the other side, sink down on your left leg, extend your right, and the rest of it. Notice the hands passing from the right shoulders when that little ball of energy appears. If you were looking at a clock face, you'd be thinking that around 5 and then letting it go. Energy is pouring in off that knee and into your back. And pouring out of your back and out of your back. Down your side. Next movement is called face drum, and it's actually one of my favorite movements. So if you begin, like all of the forward back movements, by sinking and shifting to your right, extending your left. I really like to open my thumbs with this one. So you're going to get as much real estate between your hands as possible. And you might very well feel that sense of polarity between your palms and your hands. It's as if my fingertips are running around the outside edge of a big old high school marching band string. This is another movement that it's just a great idea to just let your wrists relax as much as possible so that as you move forward, your fingertips may point down. And as you move back, your fingertips may point back. So the feet. With the other foot. I think the reason why I like bass drum so much is because it was one of the first forward and back movements in which I could really feel my thumbs were moving forward and back. And it opens here, and the back, it kind of gets out of the way for the back of the drum. But that's just my own experience. I'll never let anybody talk you out of your experience. Yeah. The next movement I'm going to teach you is called Daughter on the Mountaintop. And it's just a little mountaintop. It's a coconut mountain, not a rocky mountain. So we're going to begin like all the forward back movements, sinking and shifting to the right. Left leg extends, and then simply turn your palms over. And I always say, kind of open your thumbs. You're going to take advantage of all this energy that's flowing through your palms. And as you flow forward, your hands climb the mountain as if you're about to clap, but then they miss the clap. And you fall as you flow backwards. The left hand is closer to the heart on this. You can almost see that this is like an unzipping jacket. Two overlapping circles. people where they really feel their hands moving through the measuring wheel. Little claps. Still feeling your feet touching the floor, even when you're relaxed. And sinking down the left knee. If you're going to climb a mountain, you start at the base, right? So hands start low to go high. And you don't know why, but the left hand is still closer to the heart, even when you have your right foot out. Justin Stone also used to say, I don't know why I have 5 fingers on my hand, but I do. It just is. And more. Let the energy sit. The next one is called Daughter in the Valley, and it's actually sort of a companion piece to Daughter on the Mountaintop. We always say that if you're going to do one of the daughters, you should do the other, because you might remember that in Daughter on the Mountaintop, I noted it was almost like unzipping a jacket. Well, Daughter in the Valley is sort of like zipping it back up again. So it's a great complement to Daughter on the Mountaintop. So I'm going to begin by singing to the road. And if I'm going down in the valley, I start up at the top. As I slide forward on my front foot, the hands come together. And as I glide back, they separate. Maybe attach your arm motion to the flowing of the dantian. So as the dantian flows forward, slowly the hands flow forward and up. As the dantian flows back, the hands flow back and separate. If you feel something between your palms, this will nice your imagination. There's another polarity over for you. Come to rest in the soles of your feet. The other side is just as simple. You sink down on the left leg, extend the right. Hands do exactly the same thing on both sides of this movement. It's almost like your fingertips are going up and inside the big old bowl as they rise. And then they sort of skitter around the outside edge of the bowl as they fall. Sliding forward till my rear heel is empty. Sliding back till my front toe is empty. Every one more. Soles of the foot. And breathe. The next Tai Chi Chuan movement is called Carry the Ball to the Side, and it's the first side-to-side movement in amongst a whole bunch of forward back movements. So before we do that, let's talk about the way you actually shift your weight from side to side. It's really very similar, but it may look a little different on the outside. So we're going to begin by sinking all of the weight and all of your energy into your right leg, just as you already would. And then allow your left heel to simply snake out and land heel down. Okay? And as all of my weight flows from this good, bent, substantial right leg into the left leg, my foot is first going to flatten out, and then all the weight is going to land in the bottom of my foot. This is actually another example of the principle of yin and yang. Another bending principle of the universe, where everything flows in circles, or cycles, or seasons, back and forth. So the substantial, the yang leg is always bent, the yin leg is always straight, it has no weight in it. As I flow into the leg that was yin and is now yang, my formerly yang leg is now straight and weightless, and my new yang leg is now bent and full of energy. We're just going to do this a couple more times. And I'm also noticing that my dantian is now pointing off to the right a little bit as I shift over to the left. Now it's pointing off to the left a little bit. So as I shift from side to side, the dantian is also shifting from side to side. And a small suggestion of a circle, or at least an arc. So, to begin, carry the ball to this side. I'm going to put all of my weight into my right leg, and that reminds me to place my hands up on the right. It's as if I'm holding a small ball of energy between my hands. I let my left heel kind of snake out, and then as I shift that direction, the hands are going to come along for the ride. I'm shifting 3 times. And then I'm going to step to the left, and my trailing right leg just comes in by itself because it's so loose. A little mini pause, a little calm, not quite a full blown. Raise my upper arm, stay pretty close to my torso. Trailing right leg comes into me for laps. A little pause here. Keeping my upper arms near my torso enables my arms to not be too much. Mini grounding. And I'm going back the other direction. All the weight is in my left leg. The right heel snakes out. The turning of the waist is what's actually moving my arms around. It's the work of the effort of no effort at all. Complete paradigm shift from almost anything else, at least in this country. Certainly in the fitness world. And therefore the perfect mathematics. Retiring the energy of the centers of the feet. The next Tai Chi movement is push-pull. We're back to some of the forward and back movements. So sink down on that right leg. Stand around. Bend your arms to a comfortable position, and most likely they'll end up on your shoulders. So As your energy and your weight flows into the left leg, the hands are going to float along to the right. It's the push of no push. And the pull of no pull. I should probably be doing a float flip. Just put a little extra thought in the right hand as you're flowing forward and the left. Let's do it. I just touched on something called opposite palm emphasis. So now that my right foot is out, if you want, it's up to you, you just put a little extra thought in the palm of your left hand. Just activate and circulate even more Chih. It's totally up to you. And all else fails, just let your thoughts reside in this area. Shift into the ball of my foot. Shift into the heel. Empty heel. Empty toe. Water on each. Wash them out. And wash them down. The next movement is called pulling in the energy. It's also the forward back movement, and it's so much like around the platter and around the platter variation. The only difference is your hands are on the underside of that platter, or that old-fashioned thing. As you flow forward, your fingertips trail around the underside edge. And with all forward back movements, just focus on your reach. And when that feels comfortable, you may visualize energy from the most distant star just flowing in through your fingertips. It's a very energizing movement. Let's do it. This movement is actually so energizing, Justin used to warn that people should not do more than 9 repetitions of this. It might be too much. And I find that if I wake up and feel really exhausted in the morning, if I do a few of these, it's better than a cup of espresso. Most Tai Chi Chai movements are done in a series of 9, but some of them are done 3 threes. Most of the time, Tai Chi Chai movements end up add up to 9. Let's do it. Soles of the feet. next movement is called pulling tapping, and it's also a side-to-side movement. There's a couple of really interesting things going on with pulling tapping though. So let's get sort of re-familiar with all of that energy between your palms. Rub your palms together. Find the margins of that ball of energy between your palms. And then play around with crossing your palms over each other, sort of an exhalation. And notice if you feel any unusual sensation, specifically when the palms raise. For me, there's nothing and there's heat in the chakra. It's very pronounced. Of course, I know it's there, so I'm moving. Whatever you feel is what you feel. What you talk about in yours. So that's one of the things that's going on with pulling taffy. You're actually pulling energetic taffy between your palms. And this movement, along with all the other variations of pulling taffy, are reported to be the most heat-producing movements of all. They're great to do if you're really, really cold. Another thing that's happening with all the taffy movements is it's almost as if you're throwing a frisbee. And I can throw a frisbee that direction by simply holding it out in front of me and doing that, but it's probably going to go right over. If I really want to throw a frisbee that direction, I need to wind up and then let it fly. So there's that aspect to pulling taffy. The other thing that's sort of interesting about pulling taffy is more easily seen if you do a little Qigong here. So this is actually called, I believe, Ming Men. And pretty much every child I've ever known does this when they're nervous, fidgety, or bored. You probably remember doing this when you were a kid. So I'm going to freeze frame here. Notice that when my waist turns to my right, my left arm crosses my body. And then we'll go on the other side. When my waist turns to my left, my right arm crosses the body. Let's do that one more way. Here, I'm going to turn to my right. As my waist turns to the right, my left shoulder comes along for the ride, so my hand just goes where the shoulder's already sitting. When my waist turns to my left, my dantian turns to the left, and my shoulder comes along for the ride. So I'm going to place my hand where the shoulder was already sending it. So I'm going to do 2 repetitions of pulling taffy single-handedly, and then I'm going to add in the second. With all the side-to-side movements, you sink down on the right leg. And as my waist turns to the right, my left arm comes along for the ride. Open your palm so you can really feel the energy between your palms. Let your left foot snake out, and as you shift to the left, here comes your hand along for the right. This is like a little mini breath. Sink to my left leg. Your leg snakes out, and then shift to the right, and here comes my right arm along for the right. Let's do that one more time, single-handedly. And you come up. I'm going to do pulling taffy with 2 hands, but rest assured that if you somehow just don't get where the hands go, you can always do it one-handed. There's no harm in that. You will certainly be activating, circulating, balancing your chi. You'll just activate it, circulate it, and balance it even more if you do it with the second hand. But it's all good. It's all good. But here's what it looks like with 2 hands. Top hand rounds. The top hand around your energy. And do 3 sets. See if you feel something between your palms as they pass. So easy. The next movement is a variation of the basic pulling taffy. It's called anchor taffy because the rear heel stays anchored to the floor when you move forward. I'm going to begin by doing it one-handed until you get the hang of it, and then I'll add in a second. So I'm going to sink and shift to my right foot, just like I normally would. And my left heel comes forward. It looks like a little pigeon-toed step. And that's what's going to keep me from shifting so far that that rear heel will come up. My rear heel stays anchored to the floor. And now I'm going to do a regular shift to the side. So anchor taffy actually has two parts on each side. The pigeon-toed step to the front. So it is a shorter weight shift. You probably got the hang of how it goes with one hand, so I'm going to go ahead and do it with two hands. Feel the down hand turning to the right, and then turn to the left as the hands. The down hand turning towards the right, goes all the way to the hands and the right foot. Short shift to the front. And stay anchored to the floor. Feel that trailing hip expand as the leading hip contracts. Remember, Tai Chi Chih is about expansion and contraction, just like the universe. This is my last one. Interesting, slowly. The next movement is called wrist circles taffy. It's another variation of the basic pulling taffy, and you begin by simply allowing your weight to sink to your heels as your fingertips fall. And as your weight comes to the balls of your feet, your fingertips come along for the ride. For the wrist circle. On the third circle, you put all of your weight into your right leg and roll it up as if it's regular old taffy. And then pull to your left. Little pause here, and then sink and rise. While you're moving backwards and forwards, you're also sort of moving up and down. Just stay focused on the soles of your feet, sinking to the heels and rising to the balls of your feet all the way down. One more side. As always, come to rest, focusing on the soles of the feet. And then relax. This next movement is actually the last variation of the basic pulling taffy. It's called perpetual motion taffy. It's really easy. It's just like pulling taffy, only you don't stop. I'm going to do the first couple of movements one-handed at a time, just so you get a sense of how easy it is to shift from side to side. And then I'll add in the extra hand. So just like regular taffy, there's definitely a sinking to the right. As all of my weight lands on my right foot, my left heel comes off the ground. All of my weight lands on the left heel, my right foot comes off the ground. If you find that the hands are just a little bit confusing for you, don't worry about it. You have two choices. You can either just let your hands do what they want and enjoy the ride, or you can simply resort to doing perpetual motion tapping one hand at a time. Certainly no problem. The softer and more smoothly and continuously you flow, the more you will be activating and circulating and balancing your Chih, and that is the goal. So let's do it with two hands. And one thing I really love about perpetual motion taffy is that it absolutely gives you a sense of Tai Chi Chih is just like the expansion and contraction possibility. My right hip is contracting as my left expands. My left hip is contracting as the leg expands. All of my weight to the right peels the left heel and right heel. Moves. There's no work. It's just the waist. Turn, move a little farther. It just lifts by itself. When I do perpetual motion tapping, I often feel as if the Tai Chi Chih is doing the Tai Chi Chih. I'm not doing it. It's really profound. One more set. Come to rest in the soles of the feet. The next movement is called working the pulley. And a lot of people get working the pulley confused with the Australian pulley. I'm going to use a prop for this one. Two little pie plates. So instead of visualizing your hands slicing through water, which is what many people think of when they think of this, I like to think of working the pulley as more like throwing a very gentle, very loving little Chih pie. So, like all of the forward and back movements, I would normally sink down on my right leg, but first I'm just going to go over the arm movement. So, if I sink down on the right leg, my left leg is going to go forward. So for argument's sake, just put your left hand up. And the right hand begins at about waist height. As the left hand flows forward, the right hand is going to flow back. So let's just do it arms only for a little bit and see what you feel in the soles of your feet. Here we go. There's a huge waist turn in this movement. As my waist turns to my left, and then my right, that's what moves my arms around without any pain or effort. And now if you're doing this along with me, you might notice that your weight is actually shifting in your feet. And that's okay. There will be a little bit of a sensation of that when you add the forward and back motion. motions. We'll just go with it. Just notice it. Mm-hmm. And just my hands. All that in mind, let's add the forward and back weight shift. So as with all movements, forward and back, I'm going to sink down on the right leg, same the left. As my left foot is forward, my left hand is up, and my right hand turns over. As I flow forward on that left leg, the left hand will come down for the right, and the right hand will go up. So I shift backwards, and let my waist turn, the left hand goes behind me, my left. And if you notice that your feet want to pivot a little bit, let it go. That enables you to move your waist more easily, more fully, with no restrictions. The more you turn your waist here, the easier your arms are able to move. Opens that cheek, and carrying your back a little bit so it doesn't tip. Do one more here. And my right hand just sort of hangs out and waits for my left hand to punch up and make flies. And we begin with the right foot. So we sink down the left leg, extend the leg. If the right leg is out, the right hand goes up, the left hand turns over. Forward, and then it comes back to level so you don't spill it. Just let your weight shift, let your waist turn. And moving as if through very heavy air, and maybe slow motion as if you're journeying. Or maybe even through water. The left hand just waits for the right hand to catch up and make that. Sure, just like that. This next movement is called light at the top of the head, light at the temple. It's really like playing with some light. So go ahead and have a little fun with that. And sink down and scoop up a little bit of Chih, bring it all the way up to the top of your head. And then as you allow your weight to sink back to your heels and then to the balls of your feet, your hands expand. With that contraction and expansion visible. And now you can mix forward with your feet flat for about 6 seconds. Pull all of your lovely energy up and out into the arms. Now forward for about 6 seconds. Let your thoughts just reside inside you. I'm going to sink and rise again. Contract and expand one more time. And then circle all the way around. Right hand is under the left hand. Fold the energy in. And a mini rest. And scoop up a little more energy. Bring it up to your temples. And sink. And rise. Contract. Expand. Root. And grow. And mix forward. Distract that little monkey mind of yours. About 6 seconds. Now hold. Allowing. Sink. And rise. 3 more times. And circle all the way around. And the right hand under the left. And fold the energy in and rest in the soles of your feet. The next movement is called Joyous Breath. It's very energizing. Again, another great thing to do first thing in the morning if you're really, really tired, in addition to pulling in energy. So you're going to take a small step to your left. Exhale all the air out of your lungs while pressing your hands down. And keep your lips closed. Breathe out through your nose. Very good. Inhale, filling up your lungs with Chih. Come to the balls of your feet, and you're going to press down in 4 sections as you exhale through your nose with closed lips. Again. Again. Rounders. And now we come to passing clouds, which is another one of my very favorite Tai Chi Chuan movements, because it's another one of the movements that sometimes causes me to feel as if I'm not doing anything. The Tai Chi Chuan is doing the Tai Chi Chuan. And it's the only movement in which we begin with a weight shift to the left. So here we go, sinking all of the weight into the left leg. And that reminds you to place your left hand up, almost as if you're in a high five for that. Let your right heel snip out. And you're going to shift to the right, and then your right hand will kind of drop into the mix. And if you're thinking this looks like parallel on the side, you're actually right. It's almost the same movement, only your arms are moving. Open your thumbs so you can really experience that sensation of your hands moving through the room. As my waist turns to the right, here comes my left, my left, and right. As my waist turns to the left, here comes my right hand. And we do one more set. And moving back to the left waist. Coming down to the soles of your feet. And now we come to the 6 healing sounds. So before I show you that movement, I want to give you a little bit of a primer in Chinese spiritual history. So there were 2 main influences in Chinese spirituality. There's Confucianism and there's Taoism. The Confucianists are primarily concerned with social justice. So you're often going to find Confucianist sayings like, Confucius say, treat each other with respect. So it's all about going into the marketplace and taking care of your fellow human being. The Taoist monks, on the other hand, were more likely than not to spend sometimes years of their lives sitting, meditating, and contemplating the universe at large and their place in it. So often they would be in caves for a long period of time and their bodies would fall into disrepair. But they discovered over the course of many, many years that if they uttered certain sounds, it would actually enhance the health of their most vital organs. So the 6 healing sounds, that probably doesn't make much sense for us to spend too much time thinking about which sound refers to which body part, because there's several schools of thought on that. But the 6 healing sounds, if you were to say them out loud, are the following. Ho, Hu, Su, like tsunami. Shi, Shi, Chui. let's say it one more time so you sort of get them in your head. Ho, hu, su, sh, she, chui. But here's the thing. When you're doing the 6 healing sounds, the Tai Chi Chuan movement, you don't actually speak the sounds. You kind of aspirate them from the routine. It's a little bit like vocal coaching. You want to use this tissue to give you an example of how that works. So rather than saying them out loud, I'm going to almost just utter them with my breath, like this. When you're in a room full of Tai Chi Chuan practitioners, all doing the 6 healing sounds, it's simultaneously deafening and completely silent all at the same time. It's really, really interesting. You can almost feel your health enhancing while you're doing it. It's great. So, I'm going to begin by just simply focusing on the soles of my feet. Sink down on my right leg, just like I normally would, forward back. And this one also has some side-to-side movements. I'm going to go forward with the left hand and left foot with a hug. Both hands. And we sweep to the left. Right hand, right foot. Both hands. And sweep to the right. Again. One more time. Four more trees. Tree. Last one.